Hi guys, it's Sophia and welcome to So Freaking Good. Today we're making hummus. It's a chickpea dip that's super simple to make and so freaking good. If you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe and click on the little bell icon so you get notifications whenever we post a new video. Most hummus recipes call for a food processor or a blender, but today we're going for easier tools and minimal cleanup. And I'm actually using an immersion blender or a stick blender in this jar. You need a jar wide enough that the immersion blender fits in. Then the only thing left to wash is just the end of the immersion blender. And you can store it right in the jar that you made it in. The key to the creamiest hummus you've ever tried is mixing the tahini with the lemon juice first before adding in your chickpeas. The order matters here. So we're gonna start with about 1/3 cup of tahini, and I've greased the measuring spoon a little bit so that the tahini doesn't stick as much. So we're gonna measure out about 1/3 cup, actually a little less than 1/3 cup. I'm gonna say about 1/4 cup. And we're gonna get that in there. And then we're gonna have the juice of 2 lemons, which is just under 1/2 cup of juice. And I have some water here for thinning it out, but I'm gonna wait to see the consistency first before I add water in. So I'm adding in some salt now. You can use any kind of salt you want. Regular salt, pink Himalayan salt. I use an herb sea salt. It gives it a bit of extra flavor. And then you can use a fork or a regular whisk, but since my immersion blender comes with the whisk attachment, that's what I'm gonna use. By the way, I'm gonna put a link to this in the description so that if you're interested in getting an immersion blender, you know which one I use. Woo, it's flying everywhere. Next, we're gonna add in our spices. So I have here 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of sweet paprika, and 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. You are more than welcome to add fresh garlic to your hummus, but I feel like it has too bitter a flavor, and I prefer granulated garlic. You can also use roasted garlic if that's something that you'd like. We're gonna add that in here. And now we're going to add in our chickpeas. Just gonna add them in here. And this is a 19-ounce can of chickpeas that I have drained and rinsed until there were absolutely no bubbles remaining. A lot of recipes call for using the aquafaba or the liquid that the chickpeas come from, but that is a recipe for gastrointestinal distress and not hummus. So if you want a hummus that's easier to digest, I highly recommend rinsing your chickpeas under cold water for longer than you think you need to. And then we're going to add in our oil. So I'm using a mix of avocado oil and olive oil. I find that if you use olive oil exclusively, it's a little too bitter. So if you want a little more of a neutral flavor, avocado oil is a good alternative. So I'm going to drizzle in from the same measuring cup that we used our tahini, about anywhere from 1/4 to 1/3 cup of avocado oil. And we can add more as we go along, depending on what the consistency looks like. And I'm also gonna add in several tablespoons of olive oil just for the flavor. And that is approximately several tablespoons. And now we are going to use the other blade of our immersion blender, and we're gonna mix this up. And of course, I forgot to add more salt. I salted the tahini, but not the actual hummus. So you're gonna salt to taste and keep blending. And there you have it. Now we're gonna plate up the hummus with some olive oil and spices, and we're gonna give it a try. And of course, you can store it in the jar in the fridge, which comes in handy. You want to spread it out nice and flat so there's plenty of surface for dipping. Just like that. And then you're gonna, drizzle it with a bit of olive oil for flavor. And you can sprinkle it with whatever you like. I'm using za'atar, the green za'atar, but you can use sweet paprika, smoked paprika, even crushed chili flakes. And there you have it. Whoops. Hummus. That's so freaking good. This hummus takes literally 5 minutes to make, and you can make it in a jar with an immersion blender. Let me know in the comments what you prefer to eat your hummus with. I know there are diehard fans out there that say that it's a warm pita or bust, but I like sliced vegetables. They're so freaking good. And there you have it, hummus in a jar with an immersion blender. Join us next time for another episode of So Freaking Good. Am I good? Do I have anything on my face?
Nope, you are...
Teeth, nose, everything. We're good. Okay. I love how we're recording audio for this. Okay. Today, we are making it using an immersion blender, like this, in a jar. So there's much less cleanup, and you can still make it even if you don't have a food processor handy. But, okay, that didn't work. Friend.
One more time?
Yeah, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, see you next time. That's right.